Galactic Standard Date. Year 11356. Day 96. Sol Standard Date. 4th of the 8th, 3267. Empress Leticia and arrayed Keita watched on in utter amazement as they watched the CCTV and news drones footage of Sylvain going absolutely nuts as he easily dismembered and shredded the hated Xenos. Leticia turned to Keita as he burned yet another Azarian to ashes. Keita, disseminate this through the public channels as much as possible. Let them see that the Xeno scum can be defeated. Give them hope. Keita saluted and stormed off, leaving Leticia alone. She turned back to her TV and flipped a CCTV of the Spartans as they began their landings across the world. Hopefully you can save at least a few more. Leonidas' ship slammed through the atmosphere at a breakneck pace as it angled towards the city of Alamid. There were fortifications along one side of the city as the Felid military engaged a small horde of the Azarians. The scans in Leonidas' ship gave the Felid military an estimation of 3 more minutes before they were overwhelmed. He turned towards his men and slammed his spear on the deck.
Men, as we speak, those poor kitties are fighting. They are dying. The filthy Azarians want to eat the floofs. So, what are we going to do about it?
His men slammed their spears and yelled in unison.
We will defend the kitties with our lives. We will destroy the henty-tenty.
Leonidas smiled at their declaration and turned back to his tactical map. He angled the ship so that they would drop right into the center of the Azarian lines. About a minute later, the ship's thrusters engaged at maximum just before hitting the road and cratering it. The 7 of them stormed out of the ship and made a shield wall as the Azarians swapped targets from the forces of the Felis to them. The Spartan spears surged with energy as the spearheads aimed towards the onrushing Azarians. Once they got within 30 feet, the spears released the buildup of energy that had been charging. The energy lanced out as a bright red light that pierced through the closest Azarian. The Azarian dropped to the ground, and his brethren swarmed over it without a care. They were focused solely on the enemy in front of them. The Spartans stood their ground against the charge. Tentacles lashed out against their shields with a thunk. The barbs screeched across the Basilian steel as they tried to pry away the shields. The Spartans thrust out once again, this time picking different targets. The Azarians screeched in pain as the energy lanced into them and dug deep gashes across their tough skin. In their moment of pain, the Spartans dashed forward like lightning and thrust the spears into the underbellies of the Azarians. The Spartans ripped their spears from the Azarian bellies and quickly got back into formation. The Azarians had been stabbed in one of their hearts, and in their weakened state, they couldn't use their tentacles to block the next volley from the spears. The lasers bore holes straight into the heads of the Azarians. The next wave attacked from the sides as they got around the group from before. The Spartans grouped up and set up a wedge-shaped phalanx formation. Leonidas stood in the middle and held his shield against the 2 coming towards him. The Azarians lashed out with their tentacles, creating sparks as their barbs scraped at the steel. The Spartans thrust out with their spears, piercing through the tentacles before releasing the laser charge. The laser, having bypassed some of the tentacles' defenses, managed to bore deep holes into the Azarians, but without accuracy. The Spartans let go of their spears as the Azarians pulled at them. They immediately drew their Copper's variant of the Hell Saber and dashed into their chosen targets. The Azarians were stunned from the sun laser to the face and were woefully unprepared for the almost mechanical way that the Spartans began to run through them like scythes through wheat. The Spartan warriors quickly cut off any tentacles that were within reach as they dashed into the beasts. They did as they were trained to. They slaughtered the Azarians like a common beast. A couple slashed through the face of their chosen target before stabbing into the Azarian's exposed brain. Another slid under his belly and disemboweled the beast. 3 more died from having their sides cut open. Finally, Leonidas finished off the last one, stuffing his coppice through the beast's forehead. The final Azarian tried to take advantage of Leonidas' attention being on his brother. It lashed out with its tentacles from behind. Leonidas had been watching it the entire time and had been waiting for this exact moment. Like lightning, he dove to the side, ripping his spear free from the dead tentacles of the first Azarian as he rolled over. He took a stance and shot the spear at the now defenseless Azarian's side. The spear hit his mark and plunged into the Azarian's side. It shuddered and slumped a little, but it wasn't dead yet. Leonidas sprung into action, sprinting to the side that his spear had struck. He leaped towards it and used the momentum to wrench it further into the Azarian's side before triggering the laser discharge. The spear's discharge cut a swath through the creature's internals. In its death throes, it lashed out with the nearest tentacle, cutting a deep gash along Leonidas' back. The Azarian slumped over dead, as Leonidas ripped his spear free and spat on his corpse before turning towards his men and yelling,
Men, today we stand victorious! Basilius smiles upon us, and we honor him with the deaths of the Azarian scum!
The Spartans erupted into ferocious cheers. Commander Lakitty was staring in awe from her post on the garrison wall for a Lamid. She watched as the Spartan warriors landed and came out with seemingly primitive weapons and armor, before slaughtering the Azarians with near robotic precision, as if they did this every day. She marveled at the discipline that would be necessary to achieve such a strong group cohesion. They all moved and attacked at the same time, and they held their formations perfectly. As a commander, she was thoroughly impressed. She leapt off the wall and strolled over to the Spartan that seemed to be in charge. Her personal guards matched with her in lockstep as they neared the Spartans. Leonidas raised an eyebrow as he noticed a small kitty adorned with all sorts of regalia jumped off the garrison wall. She was quickly followed by two spec-ops-looking types. He ordered his men into a formation at rest and stood at the front as he waited. When she finally reached him, she dipped into a showy bow, gesticulating with her hand as she spoke. Great human leader. I was quite impressed by your show of military discipline and overall martial prowess. I would love to host you at my mansion after this war is over. Perhaps we could discuss military strategy over some Armenian wine. I am Commander Lakitty. Leonidas stuck his spear into the ground and gave her a salute, crossing his closed fist over his chest. He took off his helmet and knelt to be face level with Lakitty.
It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Commander Lakitty. I was also impressed by your military. To be capable of mounting a defense of any kind against the Azarian hordes, while at such a stark technological disadvantage, is rather impressive. My people were more advanced than yours at the start of our war with the Azarians, not to mention we had already mastered time. Well, anyway, I am called Leonidas, and I am the leader of the Spartans. That said, I am not a big-name leader amongst my people. My group is formed based on one of the most ancient military empires of our homeworld. You would only be learning of our ancient tactics.
Lakitty looked upon the Spartan warrior with admiration. So humble. Still, I am sure that we would benefit from some joint training, perhaps, she said with a sultry gaze. Leonidas stared at her for a minute before raising an eyebrow and shrugging his shoulders.
Do you think you could handle a Spartan training session? Gets pretty rough.
Lakitty gave him a feral grin. The rougher the better. No pain, no gain, right? Well, let's continue this chat in the garrison, she said with a wink, before turning away and heading back towards the garrison. Leonidas turned back towards his men with a confused look on his face.
Was I imagining things there? Or did I just get more than a training session? I truly cannot tell,
he said, as his men stifled their laughs.